Hey guys, I'll give everybody just a minute or two to get in here if anybody is still even awake at this hour. If not, I will make the video and you guys can watch it on replay. That's the great thing about YouTube, is if I make the video, you can catch it on replay. How's it going? How are you tonight? Give everybody just a couple of minutes to get in here. Give everybody just a minute or two to get here. Start off with, I hope everybody's doing alright tonight. And I apologize that my video is coming out so late. I usually do not do middle of the night streams. I'm usually a little earlier than this. I kind of spent Saturday night and Sunday morning in the hospital with some heart issues, and I'm just feeling like even getting up and dealing with any of this. First thing right off the bat is just a little bit of a rant. And this is not for one particular creator. This is for, I'm just going to put that out there for everybody as a whole, because I have seen people are just throwing up videos so fast today that they are really not paying attention to the pictures of summer that they're putting up there. And I've seen several pictures of summer today laying down flat with no shirt on, exposing her bare chest, and a couple of her standing up, exposing her bare chest, just because her mother did not have any more moral ethics than to post those pictures of that baby like that, does not mean that we as creators should not have more moral ethics than to repost those pictures like that. If you are posting videos of summer, pictures of summer, and you're posting picture after picture after picture after picture after picture, and you have 25, what would it hurt to leave that one off that's showing her chest? We don't have to go there, because there are still sickos out there that sees that picture in a different way than what we're viewing it as. We may be viewing it as evidence, but there may be somebody else out there that's getting off on that, or that's storing that image in their phone to use for gratification later. So how about we just don't post pictures of summer like that? Has she not been victimized enough? And like I said, it's not just one creator that's doing it. It's several, and I don't think anybody's just really stopped to think about it. Hey, how are you? Do it, Diddy. And like I said, I'm not trying to down any creator because, like I said, I don't think it's anything intentional that anybody's doing. And the ones of her like swimming in like a diaper and no shirt, I've really not thought anything about. But the one tonight of her laying flat and it just exposing her bare chest, it was just in bad taste. It was just tacky. I didn't like it. Um, hey Luca, how are you? Now I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna get off of that subject before I just say something ugly about that. I have heard it said in the last couple of days that I'm feeling better, Luca. Thank you for asking. I've heard it said in the last couple of days that Summer actually carried the Bly last name, that she did not carry the Wells last name. In my opinion, you would think that her Amber Alert would be in her given name what was on her birth certificate, or it would say Summer Moon Utah Wells, aka or alias Summer Moon Utah Bly. It would give both names. Also, the school went on WJHL and confirmed that the child was enrolled in school. And yet, nothing was ever said about her name being different. And when you enroll a child in school in the state of Tennessee, you have to provide certain documents. And those documents are a legal birth certificate, a social security card, and shot records. I know this because when my children were in school, we did reside in the state of Tennessee for a short time. And those are three items that you must possess to enroll a child in school. Shannon also said that Donnie was on the phone with Candace trying to get her to go down to the courthouse to change Summer's legal name, to sign the document to change her name into the Wells name. I'm here to tell y'all, the state of Tennessee has had legal custody of Summer since they took custody of the boys, which means they are in possession of her birth certificate, her social security card, and any other legal documents. Candace and Don can no longer make any changes or make any decisions regarding anything like that without CPS knowledge, agreements, or anything else any longer. They cannot go down to the courthouse and simply make a change to her name anymore at this time. They cannot go down to the Social Security office and simply put in a name change anymore. It cannot happen. So whatever documents that her name is in is the way that it stands. Now, if law enforcement has not put out an alias, that's wrong on law enforcement's part. If this is true, it is going to show deceit on law enforcement's end. Dawn and Candace has got so good at putting out misinformation. It's hard to believe what they're trying to put out there. However, with that being said, if Summer's last name was left at Bly, there could have been a reason for that. Allison and Grambun sat at Allison's table and told Chris McDonough that Candace did not want a girl and that Candace Sr., was supposed to adopt Summer. Yes? Well, if there was a reason why Grandis could not go through the normal legal loops to adoption, what would be the next best route? Well, their names are already confusing, right? Yeah, everybody's a Dawn or everybody's a Candace. Well, her name is Candace Bly Hare, right? Or Hare, I think is how you technically pronounce it. So leaving the mother's name as Candace Bly and leaving the child's name as Summer Bly, she could hand off that birth certificate to her mother. And as far as any school, nobody's really ever going to ask any questions if she just hands that child and that birth certificate to her mother and her mother leave with that child and nobody ever really know any different. Exactly, Luca. We don't know. Who exactly is on that birth certificate? Now, I'm one that I don't believe much of what Jody Sue says, but Jody Sue does say that she didn't even know that there was a pregnancy, that she just boom pops up with a baby one day. Do I find that strange? Yeah, I do find that a little strange. But the kid looks just like Dawn's daughter Margie, and a whole lot like Dawn the Third. The kid at least belongs to that family. I feel pretty strongly of. Have y'all seen a picture of Margie? She's a dead. Summer's a dead ringer for Dawn's daughter. One question that has never been answered, though, by anybody is, Jose said something about Candace's stepson having relations with Allie's daughter. Who is the stepson? And it wasn't Cameron. So does Don have another family there locally to the Rogersville area? Does he at least have a child? Hey, Catherine. But I do find it, if there is any truth, if there's any truth to the birth certificate deal, I do find that it's awful convenient that it would be left in the same name as, Candace's last name be left in the same name as her mother's name. Summer's last name, the same last name as her mother's name. Her mother was going to adopt her. Well, bam, there you go. No adoption papers needed. Just walk off with the child. But like I said, you would think that as soon as law enforcement found out that that was not the child's name, if that was true, that they would have put an alias out or an AKA on that Amber Alert. But, over there in the other group, I asked, I said, how much is the membership's 99 cents? There was 9,000 people in that chat. That's how much money was made in that chat over there tonight. That's a lot of money being generated over there. Where a lot of this so-called information is coming from. Unproven information that people are just taking and running with. Like this birth certificate deal that I'm discussing both sides of. Um, where children are being discussed I've seen you before here, Peaches. Ages 13, 11, and 9, and I think they were a little younger than that when Summer come up missing. And I'm going to say this. If those children did have anything to do with Summer's disappearance, there is still an adult that was responsible, and those children still have a lot of growing up to do. Those children have a lot of therapy to go through. There was a lot of environmental, and I just think that we could be a whole lot more careful. Even about even if we wanted to release the list of sizes about the things that were seized from the house. You know what? It wasn't my chat to have to defend, so I'm not even going to try to defend it. I'm just going to leave it just the way it is and let people come to their own conclusions and their own mind, because it's not my money that's being spent over there. No, because see, when the children get taken by CPS, they get their own attorneys, and that attorney is called a guardian ad litem, and that guardian gets actual custody of that child, and that guardian ad litem, and between them and CPS, they can fix any errors on birth certificates, just like they can terminate your rights and they can change the names permanently. They can do what they want to do. They could have fixed any errors or anything else. They can file for missing social security cards. They can file for shot records. They can do whatever they want. Well, and two, I think a size 14 could have been a women's 14. And there's a such thing as a women's plus 14. And who's to say that it wasn't women's pants? It does not specify if it's a child's 14 or a women's 14. I looked at the list and there was no specifications as to whether it was a child's 14 or a women's 14. Well, they wanted to separate those boys, and they wanted to separate them for a reason. And if they would not have separated those boys, they would have never got the answers that they were looking for. They may, once all the parental rights have been terminated, they may look at adopting the boys out together. Um, Once the adoption process starts, because they'll probably look at it like that's the only family that they actually have left is the pair of them, and they will probably look at adopting them out together. But for the sake of the investigation and for the sake of their own therapy and putting them through therapy and stuff, they needed them separated out temporarily. How could you fully recover from that, Marion? And then have to come to grips with your own mother would not even go through rehab to attempt to get you back. That you were not, and those kids are going to look at it like this: I'm not worth, I'm not worth anything to my mother. I'm not worth her sobering up for. There's something wrong with me. What is wrong with me that she don't love me enough to go to rehab? And that's the sad part of it, is for a long time that's the way they are going to feel. And that's the saddest part of that. But the good part about it is they do have therapists working with them. They do have therapists working with them one-on-one to deal with those things. Right, but at least now they do have a chance. But I'm here to tell you from personal experience that they have a chance to overcome this. My mother was an alcoholic. My mom was a drug addict. My mom started becoming abusive. I'm not going to go into gory details. My dad eventually got us out of it when he found out about it. It was just me and my half brother that was left at home. The other two got out. And within a couple of years of my dad getting us out, she committed suicide. And that was very hard for me to deal with because I was not on good terms with my mom when she died. And me just being a teenager, I could not understand why she loved the alcohol more than she loved me. I could not understand why the drugs and the men come before me. I could not understand why when she wasn't drinking or she wasn't drugging, I could still see that little bit of a good person every once in a while, but it wasn't very often because she had got to where she would wake up in the mornings with a drink in her hand. She would pass out at night with a drink beside the bed. It's one reason why I don't drink. There was men in and out of the house. There was men in and out of the house that tried to touch little girls. And like I told y'all in the past, there was reasons why I felt drawn to Summer and her case. The only difference is we did not live in the filth and the squander that they lived in. But the reason why was me and my brother kept it cleaned up. But she would leave us for a week. She would leave for 2 weeks at a time with no groceries in the house. We learned how to do our own laundry because she would leave us with no school clothes. If we didn't learn how to do our own clothes, we would not have clean clothes to wear to school. So I understand how these boys are going to look at their mother for a very long time. I understand the questions that they're going to have for her, and she's never going to answer those questions. And, you know, the worst thing of all is after my mom died, I felt guilty. I felt guilty for leaving her. I felt like had I never left her alone, she wouldn't have died. It was my fault for breaking free. And those were the feelings that I struggled with. In and out. In and out of therapy. And I'll be honest with you guys, it come down to, it was so bad. I tried to take my own life because of the guilt. And well, my dad passed. And after my dad passed, it just brought a whole bunch more trauma on me. So then when I tried to take my own life, while I was in the emergency room, they done some blood work and they found out and they told me that I was pregnant. And that child changed my life. And I've said from that day forward that that kid saved my life. Because it gave me a whole new way of thinking. It gave me not only a reason to live, but a reason to live differently. A reason to change. The whole generational fuck up. To change everything. And I did. I went back to school. I made something of myself. I'm not sitting here telling you it was easy. And this is a story that I avoided even talking about with my own kids. So I know what these young people feel better than anybody. And that better be what Candace looks out for, because when those kids find out that she has actually just thrown up her hands and just said, screw it, this is too hard, and I just don't want to be a parent anymore, they're really going to start talking. You think they're talking now? You wait until that hurt really hits them, when they find out exactly the ins and outs. Give it a couple of weeks. They can do it with the right guidance. They can do it. If I can do it where I come from, they can do it. And my mom was so intelligent. It don't just happen to dirt poor country people. This woman was a registered nurse, and she went and got her certified nurse practitioner's license. Never had to open a book, never had to do anything. And just threw it all away. Just pissed it away. Stealing patients' medicines and stuff. You know. But I'm sorry, guys. I did not mean to. I did not have that planned, and I did not mean to bore y'all with my family life details and go off into that. But yeah, those boys, Summer and them boys, are just not ever far from my thoughts in this whole blew out mess. And I would just, as soon as they find out exactly how she gave up on them, and they're really going to say everything she don't want them to say. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about. Y'all remember the video where Don is retracing his steps, and he's showing us the video of how he drove to the bottom part of the property, and he's seen the boys down by the creek. And I think John Q has been showing it where he's been looking on Chimney Top Loop and everything. But anyway, Don says, and we turned here, and then he says, no, I turned here, but he keeps saying we, and then he keeps correcting himself. I have a theory on that. I think that Josie was with Don on his way home from Jonesboro on June the 15th. I don't think all the kids were at the house. I think the oldest one was with Don. I think the oldest one makes the we in the Subaru on the way home. You don't ever completely heal from a heartbreak like that. You deal with it, you have good therapists, and you have beautiful, wonderful children. And every day that you look at them, you hug them, and you know that they are the reasons that you strive to do better than the way that you were raised. And that's what's always gotten me through. I try to remember my mom the way that she was before she ever started drinking, before she ever started taking pills, because I do have, thank God, I have those memories of when my mom was just a mom. When we would come home from school and there would be supper cooking on the stove and everything was right. And I try to remind myself that the person that killed themselves, that was not my mom. That was the monster that had overcome my mom. Because my mom never, ever spanked us or whipped us. But that monster that was drinking, she would hit us with hangers. She would hit us with shoes. She would hit us with water hoses. She didn't care. And I think that that's part of what drove me to be a paramedic, to try to reach out to other people in the community that but anyway, back to that car ride that Don took us home. I think that the oldest one was in the car with Don. I think he had been at work with Don. Don fired Dudley Ajan the day before, and I do believe that he took the oldest one to work with him to help him finish up the day after. I think the oldest one is the wee that's in the car with him. The two other kids, the two other boys, are the ones that was there playing Minecraft and was home alone. Nobody in, nobody out. And nobody's ever really said for sure. But I do recall hearing Candace slip one time and calling by name and saying the two younger boys' names and never saying the oldest one's name as far as the ones being at home playing games. I don't think it really matters because I think summer was already gone before June 15th. I think June 15th was just May Day and the last day that they had to report her missing. You know, The woman in the picture, Robin, Benny, Grandis, Candace, all of them up on the hill that day. And the woman that was cut out the picture and nobody wanted to show her face. I've heard that woman's name is Marlena Crawford. Marlena Jackson Crawford. And she goes by a couple other names too. It's my understanding that she was the one that was in the truck the day the milk jug photos was taken. And that's her voice that you hear in the truck, not Grandis's. It's also supposed to be the mother of the little girl, Journey. That you've heard stories about, that was Summer's best friend. This is the best part of the conversation. This is the part you've hung around for. She supposedly has ties to the Churchill Rescue Squad. It's been rumored I put out that Robin's husband got busted for breaking into that drug box in Kingsport a long time ago, but listen, it's been rumored that Marlena got the Amber Alert before it went out to anybody else in the county. And the Amber Alert should have hit everybody's cell phone at the same time, right? Are you listening? Marlena is also related to Andy. And she's also related to Detective Pruitt. I am having trouble finding her information on Truth Finder. It seems like somebody has wiped her information out. But to anybody who is local, may can help me dig up this information. That's why one reason why I decided to put this out in the middle of the night. I may put this on private for a little while. Are you hearing me, Luca? You are one of the better investigators. We need to find out who this woman is, why she's connected to the Churchill Rescue Squad, how she's connected to Jody, Sue, and Andy exactly. how she's connected to Pruitt. Because here's the thing, if she's related to Pruitt, and if she's related to Andy, then guess what? That makes Andy and Pruitt related also, doesn't it? I had a couple of other subscriptions that could find people's backgrounds when other ones couldn't, but all my subscriptions have run out, and I haven't took in any cash out money or any PayPal money or anything this month. And I'm not asking for any, I'm just putting out facts. And I've already put this out to the proper people, but if the proper people already know this and it's being covered up, what good does it do? Who do you take it to? What, I mean, you do it yourself, right? You put it out here and let's uncover it out here in YouTube land and find out for ourselves who these people are. Because that question has always loomed in the back of my mind. If her child was hurt so bad, then why does she still hang around with Candace? What was promised to her to make her still keep coming around? Because if my child was harmed at somebody's house by one of their children, I certainly would not keep going around, right? Am I thinking correctly? How many is in agreement with me there? Would you be on top of the hill taking pictures with them? Marion, just forget the criminal element of that right now. Just set that to the side and let's focus on, let's go back to what I'm talking about right now. Say your child is harmed. And it doesn't matter how they're harmed, just say they're harmed by another child. Just say another child broke their arm intentionally. Would you take your child back to said residence? Would you be there taking pictures with said people? Okay, well, that's where we're at. all these horror stories that has come out about this woman's little girl being harmed is out there, right? And the stories were so bad that Don had to take one of the children to Utah because of this horrid situation, right? Are y'all with me so far? That's how bad the situation was. That one of the children had to be extracted from the situation. But now said child is back. And here is victim and victim's parents. Back on the hill. Why? And even if none of the rest of it is true, just what I have said right here leaves a big question mark as to who is she and why is she back on the hill if her child was harmed, right? And this is an avenue that we have not looked into, right? Are y'all with me so far? And now I'm being told that it was Marlena in the truck with Candace when the milk videos were made, and the word made was stressed. Made. Made. As in production. Made. Now, this is allegedly, and I'm going to say this again, allegedly, allegedly, allegedly. Do I have receipts? Do I have a piece of paper that says, hey, this is 100% factual information? No, I do not. But the facts that I do have is knowing that something happened to her child, horribly. And she's back up on that hill. And not only is she back up on that hill, but she's up there taking pictures with suspects. Why? So the rest of what I'm being told, why not? It fits. It fits. And all I'm saying is if it's an avenue that we have not explored, I'm sorry, I've got to plug this phone in, guys. It's at least worth exploring, because right now all we have got is a bunch of dead ends. Or maybe not dead ends, but we're beating a dead horse in circles. And at least this is something that's not been explored yet. And like I said, to me, what has the church paid this woman? Or what is in it? But you know, I called the Churchill Rescue Squad out back months ago when I found out that it was listed as a religious organization. And my video was still down there that says, what Churchill Rescue Squad, a religious organization? And then you've got all these pictures of Summer at the rescue squad. Even this latest one that has been taken of Summer where her tooth looks fixed and she looks like she's 7 or 8 years old. Y'all know which one I'm talking about? The latest one that was on the Wells Media Manager page. It was taken at the rescue squad. Right before she comes up missing, you know, she's at the rescue squad and she's sitting on the back of these fire trucks. So they had some kind of relationship with these people at the rescue squad to begin with. In my last video that says something about, I don't remember how I titled it, the Many Faces of Summer or something, I don't remember. I released it yesterday. But the last video, or the last picture in the video says tooth fixed, and it's a picture of Summer, and both of her teeth are there, and she looks like she's 7 or 8 years old. It's at Churchill Rescue Squad. It's where these pictures keep getting taken. And y'all, I dropped a message to Michelle on Michelle Walks this morning and told her it would be a good idea for her to run the genealogy for the Trents and then run everybody that is involved in this case too. Because she's going to find a lot of commonalities, I do believe. And then she needs to run the Bernard genealogy and then see what the common denominators are in that. Where are you going, Crystal? You got my email address? With what comment? Was Chris M just in my chat? I missed it. I didn't see it. Morning, Nancy. Well, what happens is, and this is what happens, my subs stay like at 1.5 all the time. I do the research, I put out the information, and everybody else goes and puts out the videos. One day I'll learn. But I don't care because my whole point in doing it is to what? What is my whole point in doing this? Is to find summer. And you know, even if it is just a maybe lead, it was maybe more than I had before I got it. Well, it may turn out to be nothing. And I wouldn't have said anything. I was trying to do this research on my own, but I needed some help pulling this woman out the woodwork. Sometimes you run into things that you need help. Need help on, and I don't mind yelling for help when I need it. So, well, and you know, and then the LE put us down when we're the ones doing all the legwork, and they say, "Oh, well, the YouTubers are the ones getting in our way." Um, no, they just don't want to admit that some online sleuths do help. Now, maybe the ones down there running up and down Ben Hill Road are creating some sort of issue, but I'm not up there running up and down Ben Hill Road. I have been there, but nobody knows that I have been there and I have gone. Nobody even knew it before I come back here and said something. I brought no video back and posted it. I brought no pictures back and posted it. And I wasn't on Ben Hill Road. I was within the county doing some research. And that's been a while back now. And I certainly wasn't up there putting money in pockets of people I was trying to get interviews with. All right, Marion. Thank you for being here. All right. Well, it's time for you guys to give me your feedback on some of this and giving me your thoughts. Tell me what you're thinking. This has to be like a two-way conversation. You like watching ghost hunting videos, Nancy? Is that what you like? Well, usually I don't listen to a lot of psychics, and I'm very picky about the psychics that I do listen to. But a lot of what she says is coming to pass. I have to admit it. I will give her kudos that so far she's on the money. And especially the way people look. Let me ask y'all something. While I have a room full of fairly intelligent people here, Tim Mullins, do y'all think I have him pegged wrong? Or do you think I've got him pegged just about right? Because somebody reached out to the behavior panel and asked Scott if he would ever be honest in his opinion about meeting Tim Mullins. And Scott emailed back and said, "Oh, Tim's a great guy. I promise he's harmless. He just really wanted to help. And they are supposed to be like top people reading body language, and how can they be so wrong?" And the only answer that I can get in my head is Tim, I know for a fact, worked for the government. And I know that those guys worked for the government. Are they covering for each other? That's what's going through my mind. Or, here's the other thing that went through my mind. You remember when, in that CPS thing that Ziggy released, it said that law enforcement and CPS had put people in the Wells life and in their path. To help bring them down. Well, Tim could also be an undercover plant too. But then that wouldn't make any sense about the NDAs and the publishing companies and I don't think so either because, yeah, I've tried looking at it from both sides, thinking, well, maybe I've just got him picked wrong. Maybe he's. But then, like I said, the NDAs, the non disclosure agreements, the publishing companies, him reaching out to Michael Vaughn's case. Now I'm finding out he's reaching out into the Weber case, um, and possibly another case. Yeah, that just don't make sense to me. It seems to be all about production and book rights. Well, thanks for joining in, Lisa. What do you mean you believe you're in a cleaner? No, you're in a critical thinkers chat that tries to think out all corners of something, not just in a bubble that only thinks in one direction. I'm sorry. Oh, I believe that. I think that they thought this was going to be easy to pull off and that it was going to be like a lot of these other missing kids. And it was just going to be an Amber Alert and it was just going to go away. And possibly it would have had Don Wells stayed off of social media. But the minute he opened his hillbilly mouth, and I'm not putting down hillbillies by any means because I am from the Appalachian Mountains myself. Love all my hillbilly relatives, and I'm as redneck as they come. But the minute that drama started, people started buying front row tickets to a 3-ring circus. And that's the truth. People were just in disbelief. And it still wasn't that bad until Chris McDonough went up there and showed the inside of that house and that dungeon. And when that basement was shown, that deep, dark basement with the windows covered, and the minute we found out that that 5-year-old baby had been sleeping with her daddy, it was on like Donkey Kong. Everybody, the world knew what had been going on. And everybody bought a ticket to it. If y'all don't mind, go hit that like button or the dislike button. It doesn't matter, but just get the video out into the algorithm for me, please. Thank you very much. I don't draw a very big crowd, but definitely need to get the video out into the algorithm. I so much appreciate it. Well, and people think, well, 99 cents ain't nothing, but by God, when it's happening 9 or 10,000 times, it adds up to $10,000 in an hour and a half. And bingo, Catherine. Bingo. Don't like being made a fool over lost kids. And I just, like I said for those of y'all that's just coming in, I would think, and this is just me thinking out loud, on the Amber Alert, if the child had different names, that it would state that. In the beginning, if it was released Summer Moon Utah Wells, and then they later found out that she was listed different on her birth certificate, it would say alias or also known as Summer Moon Utah Bly. The school come out on WJHL, and they confirmed that the kid was enrolled in school to WJHL months ago, like back in July or August. People were doubting that Candace had actually got her shots and enrolled her in school. Nothing was said about her not being a Wells. And I know very well from experience in Tennessee that you have to have a birth certificate, a shot record, and a social security card with your name on it to enroll them in school. So I'm not understanding why, if 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 that was a fact, why law enforcement has an Amber Alert under a wrong name. But really, does it matter what her last name is if she's lost? But if she's been called Summer Moon Utah Wells all her life, if you walked up to her and asked her, hey, are you Summer Bly? Would she even know that that was her name? If she's been told all her life that her name was Summer Wells? What would she answer to? But in Tennessee, you can put any name on a birth certificate that you want. So my question is why was it even put in Bly? If it was, and that's a big if it was. And I've got a pretty good answer for that too. And this is, I've already been over this once. This is just for the ones that's just joining in. And Allie told you why. Allie and Grandpa told you why. Because Candace Bly Hare wanted to adopt her. Candace Wells did not want her. Well, there may have been a legal reason, like Social Security, that Candace Hare could not legally adopt her. So what's the next best thing? Well, since her name is Candace Bly too, Candace Bly Hare, well, all you got to do is hand the kid off with the birth certificate already, and nobody's really going to ask any questions, ever. No adoption needed. Right? Both the mom and the grandmother's name is both the same. Technically. Now, that kid looks just like Don's daughter, Margie. If you have ever seen a picture of Margie, that kid looks identical to Margie. And she also favors Don the Third. It's all in the eyes. That kid does belong to Don. Now, whether or not Candace is the mother is the biggest question. But the kid belongs to Don. Have y'all ever seen a picture of Margie? Now, I'm on a phone. I can't pull up anything. Well, I might could pull up something on my tablet. Let me see. YouTube. Give me just a minute. I'll see if I can get this picture up for y'all. Maybe. If I can find it. I don't see it right off. How would I look that up? Oh, I know how to look it up. Hold on. I got it. Oh, I said I did. Mm-hmm. She must have blocked her Facebook. I bet a bunch of people was bothering her. Because I don't see it anymore. It used to be right as you opened Facebook, she popped up. But she looks just like Summer. Or Summer looks just like her. Dawn says she looks like Sonia, but she don't. She looks like Margie to me. Right. It looks like there's 2 or 3 Summers to me. The shape of the eyes are different sometimes. The color of the eyes, but the color of the eyes could be the way the light hits it. But you know, Tim being a photographer, he can manipulate those pictures. But there was one of her and Robin, and y'all can find this picture real easy. I'm gonna tell you how. It's the one of her and Robin, of Summer and Robin, and it's the one where Robin's showing off the yellow necklace that she made for her for Mother's Day. Look, Summer's pinky finger is gone. It shows her having no pinky finger. And we know that that's not true because, for one, it would be on the Amber Alert that she was missing a finger. That would be a scar or a marker. Um, that was just something that somebody missed when they cropped that photo picture of them together. We don't know that Don is really in jail. We have absolutely no way of knowing that he's really in jail. But y'all go back, you pull up that picture of Summer and Robin together and look and see that she's got a finger missing in that photo. And it's just where somebody missed doing that picture exceptionally well before they put that out on social media. Some pictures she's looks just like a boy. Some pictures looks like she is exceptionally, like she really has extreme fetal alcohol syndrome. Like extreme. Some pictures she looks like she's got red hair, the extreme side of strawberry red hair. And it's going to have something to do with Daisy's or Black-Eyed Susan's because they left a Black-Eyed Susan on that memorial in Utah. And Jody Sue went and got her a big ass tattoo on the inside of her arm of a black-eyed Susan. Tim has left symbolisms of those same black-eyed Susans and daisies all over his videos and stuff. So I don't know if that's where she'll be found, as somewhere amongst the daisies or something, but I don't think that it was by coincidence. And the wedding photos had a large amount of daisies in those too. There's some kind of strange meaning about these black-eyed Susans or something. Because she's had Candace the Third, she had Andrew, she had the 3 boys she's currently got, she had Summer, she had the one she put up for adoption, and that's the 7 that we know of for sure. That's the ones that she's admitted to. Yeah, she had previous kids. She had 2 previous kids taken away. That was Candace the Third and Andrew. When Candace the Third was taken and Andrew was taken, she put a shotgun in the face of the CPS workers, and that was where her charges in Wisconsin come from. And we've known all this since the beginning. None of this is news. This is, or new news, rather. I don't know. Unless the daisies just represent something that happens in the summertime in the holler, because they only bloom once a year, and that's usually in June, and she come up missing in June supposedly. I don't know. Well, Candace says that the adoption happened back before the previous 2 kids, like when she was young, and nobody knows who the daddy is. I have heard that it was a baby that her and Don gave up for adoption. So it just depends on who you ask and if she's sober or not, and when you ask her. It's like, what story are you telling today? You know, Don B, over on his YouTube channel several months back, he tried having a conversation with Don Wells. And Don Wells told him that if he got a 3rd felony strike, that he was going to be gone for life. And that something about child abuse charges on a child under 5 is automatic felony charges in Tennessee. And he wasn't going back to prison. And I know that Don B had recorded that and took that to the TBI. And that was back several months ago. So that pretty much said it all right there. Child under 8. Yeah, that's right. I misspoke on that because she was 5 at the time. I guess is why my mind went to 5. Exactly. I said I misspoke because my mind went to 5 because she was 5 at the time. I apologize for misspeaking on that. But, everybody's talking about grand jury this and grand jury that. And hopefully it did go to a grand jury, or it is going to a grand jury. But the thing about that is the grand jury can take months of testimony before they indict somebody. If the grand jury started yesterday, then it may be June before we see indictments. Because that's just the way grand juries work. They don't take all the testimony in one day. They will present a case to the grand jury, say in April, and then they will start presenting the evidence of that case gradually. They don't have to present everything that they have in one day. And it's like in the Evelyn Boswell case, they had thousands of social media files, thousands of video clips, thousands of audio clips, thousands of text messages. The defense was filing motions for them to suppress some of that evidence because just the forensic evidence of her autopsy was going to be so traumatic. They were afraid that the jury was just going to make an emotional finding on the mom, that they didn't want the jury to see any more evidence. And that kid was not missing near the amount of time that Summer has been missing. That child was found relatively quick compared to the length of time that Summer's been gone. So if the TBI was able to secure all those thousands of files in that short amount of time, in Evelyn's case, I'm just wondering how many hundreds of thousands of files that they have actually got against Don and Candace Wells. And I do remember hearing back a couple of months ago about law enforcement and the TBI asking certain creators for videos and going and asking certain creators for evidence. So I know that they have already began gathering their evidence for social media. And that's a fact. And Tim Mullins, put out that post on Facebook that where he was talking about having Don's phone. He said something to the effect of, well, I was the only one that had went to court with Don. Other people had their reasons for not going. Don was not allowed to take his phone into court, and I was the only person there, and I took his phone and I threw it into a box, blah, blah, blah. And I had tried downloading, his phone at their house, and it was all glitchy and blah, 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 blah. And y'all, I'm sure you read it. And he keeps blabbering his mouth about trying to download this phone several times. That's evidence. Well, then he goes on to where he states that he had a phone conversation with Don in jail. And then he goes on to state how he completes this download after he downloads iTunes. And he's still typing all this on Facebook. Well, all that's evidence. But the part that got me was where he's talking about he had this phone conversation with Don from jail about this phone and downloading this phone. Well, I thought, once you downloaded iTunes, how did you download his phone without his Apple ID and his password? Ding, ding, ding. You got his Apple ID and his password over the phone. You dumbass. Now, they don't need the phone because y'all two Apple heads just gave them access to his phone over a recorded phone call. Both of you is as bright as a blowed out light bulb in the dark. You're as useless as a turd on a septic tank. And I just laughed. Right? Exactly. But I have an iPhone and Apple products, and to use iTunes, you have to have an Apple ID and a password. And if you go and you read his post and you follow it, you can tell that he didn't download iTunes and successfully download the phone until after he talks to Don, which means that he got the Apple ID and the password over the phone. So how intelligent was that? With friends like that, who needs enemies? So and he admitted to downloading Candace's phone too. And the question being is why? Why are you downloading these people's phones? Cher posts a little mailbox thing every time she sends something to Don, and it's got a little check mark that says sent. And I think that there's a couple other people that writes to him too. There was a big to do about, yeah, there was some kind of proof that they had got with a couple of creators. That was a real thing. It was a real thing. I talked to Ronnie Lawson once myself. Morning, Lisa. I think the youngest brother is 9 now. I'm not sure if he's turned 10 or not. I'm not sure of when his birthday is. He's either 9 or 10. I think when she went missing, they were 13, 11, and 9. And I'm pretty sure that they've all had birthdays by now. If they haven't, they all should be coming up around on birthdays because it's been almost a year. So we should be saying what, 14, 12, and 10 really? She was extremely small for her age, except they had her height jacked up there. You know, I've noticed on other missing children that were 5 years old that their height is around 3 foot 5, 3 foot, and they've got her already at 4 foot. I don't think they knew exactly how big she was. No more than they knew her birth date or anything else. If you haven't noticed, I still post one of the oldest posts that I possess. Sometimes it's in the beginning of my videos. And it's a little clip. And it says, Candace Wells, Don Wells. And it's a little bitty thing. You can miss it if you're not looking for it. And, you know, it says lawyers, blah, blah, blah. And it's just a little bitty screenshot. And then it's talking about the creeks and EquiSearch. And it's where EquiSearch says that there was so many hypodermic needles in that creek and on the Wells property that they had a difficult time searching the property itself due to the hypodermic needles piled up on the Wells property. And that right there said so much to me, and that was at the very beginning of this whole thing. It wasn't necessarily the terrain for them on the very beginning of this search as it was the dirty hypodermic needles. And those kids played all over that property, mind you. And all over that property, it was just strewn with syringes. Thanks for being here, Nancy. And that just kind of set the precedence for this whole case. And then I go back thinking how Jody Sue said she got in that creek barefoot or with flip-flops on to keep the scent down. Well, that tells me, somebody has studied on how these dogs just the way she talked about it, her wording of it. But anyway, EquiSearch is scared to get in that creek with full boots and gear on because of the hypodermic needles. But she's willing to jump in that creek with sandals or barefoot to walk the bottom of that creek. Okay. Gotcha. I hear you. And then later on, she says, and this was a statement that she made later on, well, the way that the woodcutters had been laying trees over in that creek, and as hot as it was, the water had dried up to nothing, and it was just all mud anyway. There was no water in that creek. Whoa, wait up. Make up your mind. You was either in that creek feeling for the bottom through all that water, trying to feel the bottom to see if she was floating in that water, or was the creek dried up? Make up your mind. It's one or the other, because it can't be both. Right? There's either water or it's all dammed up and it's all dried up. One or the other is a lie. And the truth stands when the world's on fire. And if the truth was standing, there wouldn't be but one story told. We wouldn't have to go back and say, which one is it? Was there water in the creek and you was wading in it with your sandals, trying to feel the bottom for a child? Or was the creek dammed up and there was no water getting through, and there wasn't but like that much water, or there was no water and it was just all mud? Which one is it? But either way, EquiSearch says that there were so many hypodermic needles through there that they wasn't gonna do it. Hmm. And you can ask Dave Rader about that. And supposedly two neighbors, one walking each side of the bank, one on this side and one on that side. They both hollering, right? And this is just in my mind because keep in mind, I'm a medic and I worked search and rescue for 20 years. So I'm going through my mind knowing how search and rescue is supposed to work. But Jody Sue says that there's two neighbors, one on each side of the bank. One neighbor's working one side, she's working the other. But if the creek is dried up and there is no water in the middle, there really is no creek. It's just dry bed. See, I'm from the hollers too. I know what happens to creeks when they dry up. It turns to dry bed. Just walk right across it. There really is no banks. This just my thoughts. My thoughts. Either there was water or there wasn't water. I go back and I look at the water table. I go back and I look at the weather and the rain and there hadn't been any rain. I'd have to go back and look now, but if I remember right, it's been almost a year since I've done this research. But if I remember right, they had been in a drought and it had not rained in quite a while. But the day that summer come up gone or the day after, then it started raining. And that's when everything come to life and started blooming. See, everything had not come out in big blooms and stuff until several days after she come up missing, when the rain started. Up until that point, everything had been in a drought and it was exceptionally dry. Things had not started blooming good. So there wasn't a lot of water. It was dry creek beds. And then you've got tree cutters that's coming in there and they're dropping trees off in that creek. And it's damming that water back. All up through there is just dry creek beds. She says she's walking in the creek. I don't know. It's just my own personal. I guess sometimes if it don't look right and it don't smell right, it probably ain't right, huh? There's something wrong with that whole bunch. The whole story, let me say. The whole story from all those people. Hey, dude. How are you? One of my first theories was that she had been taken to a neighbor's property until after the first initial search, and then she was taken out of Ben Hill. And that's if it occurred. If it occurred on the 15th. Exactly. Because I do believe that it was common for Candace to give all those kids alcohol, even Summer. I do not think that it was an uncommon occurrence for any of those kids to walk around and drink what they wanted to drink. I think that it was a true statement that Summer would walk around and empty out beer cans when Don would lay them down. And if she would fill up a sippy cup for one, what's the difference in a boy in Summer? And I have seen many, many, many photos to where it looked like the child had been drinking or taking something. Yeah, I've heard that too. Well, I think they were flat out just running a trap house, just like 125 was running a trap house. Matter of fact, I think when the drug bust happened at 125, there was a big bust at the 125 address. They got LSD out of there, they got heroin out of there, they got marijuana out of there, they got guns out of there. And I think when that happened, that the trap house simply moved across the street. I think they're all in it together. And that is just my personal opinion. That it's one big business. Business partners. Jackie, there is Google Maps, and if you just go to just regular Google and tap in the address, it'll tell you who's at 125. I posted his records here just the other day. And she got madder than a mashed cat in a burlap sack when I did. But I do think that it is just one big organization. And when one gets in trouble, it just moves to the next house. now that both properties have been in question. Well, hell, look, one property has been abandoned, now the other property has been abandoned, and they've branched out everybody on different properties, and the organization is still in the area. Everybody's still doing what they're doing. Nobody's slowed down, nobody has stopped, not even for children. Well, it's a lot more money than $74,000 because it's more money than what they could make just to bring Summer home. They could, 74,000 is what the reward stands at to bring Summer home. Well, you just figure up, how much you can get for an ounce of meth, and that 74,000 becomes laughable. And that's the issue. And y'all have heard a certain somebody sit and say how 845 pounds of meth gets brought in there at one time. Once you figure out how much an ounce of meth goes for, then you start figuring out pounds until you get up to 845 pounds. And then ask yourself, why in the are you sending money through PayPal and Cash App to these people too? You are being scammed. You are being grifted. You are being used. And worst of all, you're being laughed at for every dollar and every $5 you send. Look, y'all have, and I'm not, when I say y'all, I am not pointing out anybody in particular, and I'm not talking to any one sub. I'm talking to anybody that is continually sending money to Candace or Jody Sue or any of that bunch, because y'all have rebuilt a house for a woman that will not sober up to get her kids back. You have increased that house value by what, 50, 60, $75,000 to be sold. Probably back to Jody Sue's people, or to be sold to Tim Mullins at a very high rate for them to profit off of. But it certainly won't be for them boys to profit off of. Ever. Those boys will never see one penny of it. Once they're adopted out, they will not get one penny out of a trust fund. Because I tell you what, when my kids were adopted, it was in the adoption papers that they get nothing from their previous life. No lottery winnings, no inheritance, no anything. That anything that connected them to their previous life was done. That once they come over here, they got nothing. Jody Sue has bought her a fabricated cabin that she's fixing to put together in the spring. Now go online and price one of these cabins that you just put together, and look at the price and see what y'all have bought for her, while she sits back and laughs. And this is all for criminals not somebody who has made a mistake in their life and they're trying to turn their life around and do good, because there's plenty of people that makes mistakes. Hey, I've done this and I'm rehabilitated and I've not made a mistake for 20 years. Can you help me out? Or, I got caught doing this 15 years ago and I've not done it anymore. I've got a clean record now. I'm trying to do better with my life. This is people that time after time after time after time after time of getting in trouble, and they're still getting in trouble, and they're still involved with kids coming up missing, and all the, and now an $80,000 cabin has been built or bought, all on people's dimes that work hard for their money, and they've been scammed out of it through YouTube, all on the back of a missing child. And if y'all want to know how much money I've made on YouTube, I will be very glad to post it for you. Only in the 9 months I have been here, only 1 month have I drawn a check from YouTube. 1 month. I have made $118 in almost 10 months. And that's super chats, that's Cash Apps, that's PayPals, that's everything, like $118. That's everything. And I will be glad to post that up. And that comes nowhere near paying for my YouTube premiums or my subscription cost or anything else. Look, that does not even touch what I spend on the programs to even make the videos. Exactly, Crystal. That's what I'm saying. You pay that out just to make the videos. But these people, look, she will run that app. She will sit there and she will stare at that screen blankly with nothing to say, sometimes falling asleep. I've seen her at times for 20 hours running that PayPal app. High. Just to make your dimes. So y'all have practically built 2 houses that I know of. Maybe 3. I don't know what she has gave to Andy. But I know for a fact that y'all have completely rebuilt Candace's house to be sold, and y'all have completely built her a cabin. A nice cabin. Not a little bitty one, not just a little camper cabin, a big, nice fabricated cabin. Prefabricated, I'm sorry. And the other day she was talking about, well, she was getting all new electrical wiring and all this stuff. Copper and electrical wiring is high. Exactly. Exactly. And I'm not trying to worry him about what some other creator got, or I could care less. I'm not even trying to compare what I got to what somebody else has got. What I'm saying, all this scamming and grifting from Ben Hill Road needs to stop. It is ridiculous. I thought at first, well, maybe she's sitting there proving how ignorant she is, trying to build her defense, showing that she is not mentally stable to stand trial. But she's smart enough to scam all this money out of people. And somebody ought to go down and file charges against her for doing it. There's got to be something illegal about it after you pass a certain amount of money. Scamming. When you have bought yourself a new cabin off the back of a missing little girl, there's got to be something illegal about it. So I have heard people say that when Cam and Allie started their channel, that they neither one of or he wasn't working, and they was living in a trailer that was falling apart. I bet you that ain't true now either. I bet you that they are living high on the hog too. But I'm not even gonna go there. Ronnie is not an Adventist. Ronnie is a Baptist. I don't know what Donnie's got. I know the kids has got motorbikes. Crystal, what kind of car do you drive? And I'm just trying to point out some differences here. Exactly, and they will be sold. But all this time, those kids, it's been told the kids are going to benefit. This is for the kids. This is for the kids. Tim Mullins is the only one that's going to buy them at auction dirt cheap. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Okay, you Uber. I drive a Ford. I bet you that's not what some of these other folks that signed NDAs are driving. And that's all I'm going to say about it. All I'm going to say about that. And if they signed an NDA, I'd be damned if I would give them any money. Because they haven't changed a bit. And I'm sorry, I told y'all it was a bit of a rant in the title. Right after that marathon, and she was hollering during that marathon, help me, help me. I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't go to a domestic violence shelter because of my son. They won't take my son in a domestic violence shelter. Well, honey, your son is old enough to get out and work and get y'all the hell out of there to begin with, if you really wanted to. But then I see a video of her going into a tattoo shop with Andy to get $1,000 tattoo tattooed on her arm. The very same man that she claims abused her. Because they're holding out for felony charges, not misdemeanor charges. It was in November. There will be a little girl missing here 29 years. Her name was Andrea Gonzalez. We look for her every November. We don't care, rain, sleet, or snow. November the 21st, every year, we get out and we look for the little girl. She was 5 years old when she come up missing, the exact same circumstances. Except they admitted that she had behavioral problems, child abuse, had bruises all over. Every picture you seen looked just like Summer. I mean, just it's like a replay. Well, come to find out, the stepmother finally admitted that she scalded her in water. The daddy finally admitted that he dumped her body up here in a body of water, but we never could recover her body, so we don't really know what happened to her. Well, they charged him with capital murder, but since they didn't have a body, they could only get second degree on them. Well, they both got a 10-year sentence. I think they might have spent 5 years apiece in jail, and they both walked. And they come back into the community, and we had to look at them until the day that they died. And I don't want that for Summer's case. And in this case, they charged them too quick. They did not think about all the other things. And this was a long time ago, before you could charge them with neglect and abuse, felony, and all this other stuff. They just took it straight to trial, just only capital murder, no child abuse, no. 5 years, and we had to look at them again. I don't want that for Summer's case. So if it takes waiting a little bit longer to get more charges on them, I'm willing to wait. That was one of the first cases that I ever was involved in. And that case still sits in my mind. And like I said, every November I still go out, knowing that we'll probably never find her. But if we don't ever look, we certainly won't find her. But we still go out and we look every November. November the 21st, every year. I'll never forget the date. I'll never forget her name. My brother worked with her dad, and they built houses. And I remember law enforcement coming and tearing up the basements in the houses that they worked in, trying to find that little girl's body. Oh, yeah, she defends him fiercely, like they're still together. And I'm starting to think that that's a game that they're playing. I'm starting to think that that is a way to bring in more money. I think that's part of the scam, guys. I really do. And I tell you, you never see the woman when she's coming back from radiation. You never see the woman when she's coming back from chemotherapy. She's not taking active treatments, but yet she's dying of cancer. She's sitting it. I've watched for it. Being a medic, I've watched for it. And she is not taking. Not that I have seen. If I'm wrong, please correct me. I think that that's something that happened to her. Yes, I do think that she went through, something. But usually, they cut here and around. She went through something, but I think that that was a while ago. She's probably still taking medicine for her thyroid. I believe that. I believe she'll have to take thyroid medicine the rest of her life. But she is not. Mm-mm. I don't buy it. I ain't biting. And if she wants to trash me, that's fine. Let her trash me. I don't care. What's she gonna do? Send a few trolls over here? I don't care. Hey guys, can you hang on just 1 second? I'll be right back. I'm back. Sorry about that. She has that young teenage girl sitting over there, crammed up in that little small camper cracker box. I've never seen her up and take her anywhere, do anything with her. I don't know what that child does all day. Bless her heart. All she does is sit and hear her mama bash her daddy 24/7. And regardless of what kind of relationship her mom has with her dad, that's still her dad. And that's up to the courts to decide. And he may be taking parenting classes. You know what? He may be a great dad. I mean, I don't know. But I just never bashed my children's daddy like that. And if they have been raised in domestic violence, don't you think that they have heard enough bashing to do them a damn lifetime? They didn't ask to be raised in that. Oh yeah, that dying all the time. Oh, you know that keeps those kids right there. That's how she keeps those kids tied to her like that. That is the umbilical cord that keeps those kids tied around her neck. She's got them scared to leave her, especially that boy. But like I said, I've been through divorce too, and I bite my tongue. Y'all know I lost my oldest son, but my middle son, I seen him the other day, and well, it's been a couple months ago, but he was like, with his dad was brought up, and he was like, "Well, I ain't talked to him in a couple months." So I just threw my hand up, and I'm like, I don't even want to hear anything from that side of the camp." And he was like, "Oh yeah, that's right." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's right, because I don't hear anything negative that comes from over there, and I just don't. I will not have any of that going both ways." Because it creates drama, and then it creates stress, and then it causes parental alienation, and then it causes, one child to feel like it's got to pick the other. No, we're not doing that. Even with grown children. Ain't happening. And kids need to be in therapy is what they need. But that's just my opinion. Sometimes you just got to bite your tongue and show that you're the bigger adult, and eventually it'll stop. Eventually it'll stop. I'm sorry to hear about that, Crystal. I had just told a story about my mom doing that, and that's why I feel so bad for the Wells boys, is because of what I had been through with my mom, um, acting like Candace. And it's just crazy. And it's just crazy the way that she acts. And, I have heard that her oldest son, Andrew, has tried reaching out to her, and she was like, "Oh, well, F him." And I'm sure that she's going to do these others the same way when they try to reach out for her wanting answers. And I'm curious as to, I know that even if she didn't show up for court today, I'm sure that Don did. And I don't think Don would be so easy to sign over his rights, especially if he's been sober a minute. Which I know there's nothing that he can do from jail, but I bet he was fit to be tied and pissed. I bet he was madder than a mashed cat. I wonder if Cher would ever tell us what he actually said happened in court today, or what his feelings, or yesterday, it's been yesterday now, and what his feelings on that really was. Well, one thing's for sure is they're not innocent of the environmental neglect. They're not innocent of the educational neglect. They are not innocent of physical neglect. Just the things that you look at with CPS, we know that they are guilty of those things. Whether they're guilty of getting Summer gone or not, people say, why didn't somebody step in and call CPS and help Summer? Where was CPS before Summer got gone? Well, hindsight's 2020, right? But here is CPS before these other kids got gone. Look at it like that. There may not be anything that we can ever do about Summer, but there's a lot that can be said and done for these boys. So here is CPS stepping up and doing something. This this very well could be justice for Summer in its own right. This may be her justice, is getting her brothers out of that. I hope this is not the only justice that we get, but through the eyes of an abused 5-year-old girl. Look at the pictures of her. Look at the bruises. Look at her hair never being combed. Look at her sitting in church, isolated away from the other kids, dressed like a boy. Look at that abused little girl. Look through the eyes of that little girl. And all the feelings that she felt on the inside. And getting her brothers out of that is her justice. And if that's all the justice that we get out of that, I believe Summer would be okay with that. I'm not saying that Don and Candace should not do jail time. That would be the proper justice. I'm just saying through the eyes of a baby. Does anybody here agree with me on that? Or am I just a bad thinker for thinking of it like that? Mother Karma is not going to forget these people. I said in the beginning of this thing, just sit back and just watch them fall apart. And that's exactly what has happened, is their whole world has started crumbling around them. And they have started falling apart. And that's what happens to guilty people. Had they not have done something, they would not have started falling apart like this. They've been together all this time, and they have been living their life like this. Something has happened in the last couple of years that has sent them on a downward spiral. And we're just seeing the tailspin of the spiral. Summer was just part of the whirlwind. And that's a fact. If you are living your life day to day the same way that you always have, shit just don't fall apart on you like that. What do you mean this room is what? This room is a psychic from the devil in where? What does that even mean? That sounds crazy. Anybody know what she meant by that? That sounds like something that comes from that WCIA room. That Wicca room is like one room over. Morning, Dolly. I'm not psychic and I ain't the devil, so if you don't explain yourself, I'm just going to have to put you out there. Just put her in timeout until she thinks about that. I've never had to really put anybody out of here or put them in timeout. She's the first. I seen that no news story. I'm like, what is this? All of a sudden, we don't hear any news for months. And then all of a sudden, it's like no news on top of no news on top of no news. It's almost like a push from Tim Mullins. You know, he knows people in that newsroom. He's the one with the ties to WJHL. That's why everything airs on WJHL. And some of Tim Mullins' crap. So, what do y'all think about what I said about possibly Josie being in the car with Don on his way home from work on the 15th? Y'all think that's plausible? And only the two smaller boys being at home alone? Because when Don takes us on that route and he's showing us where he went on his way home, you know, he says we, and we turned. And we know that he fired Dudley the day before. And so I thought, well, maybe he took the oldest one to work with him to finish up. And you know, Hunter had said something about the boys being at work with him. So I thought, well, maybe the oldest one was in the car with him. So he said, and we turned. And Jody Sue never says how many kids she saw at the creek or which ones she seen at the creek. But she did say, she said, I seen the two boys down at the creek. And I just recently caught that where she said, and I saw the two boys down at the creek. Think about that. And I saw the two boys down at the creek. if she is to even be believed. Just, so I think Josie was in the car with Don. But Dudley Ajan, y'all know that he was in prison, right? Prior. Going back on his Facebook profiles, he was a Peckerwood when he was in prison. And that is prison slang for Aryan Brotherhood, white supremacists. And that never was brought out or talked about in the interviews either. And I wondered why nobody ever mentioned that or said that. I don't know if it would have made a difference or not. But when you're talking about kids running around there with shaved heads, you might want to mention that. Right, because grand juries can take months. That's what I was telling everybody earlier. That, just because, say they did start yesterday, it may be June before we actually hear anything from an indictment or anything. It's not anything we're going to hear about in the next couple of days. Grand juries can take time. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's the for sale barrel. That's exactly why I brought up um, Ajan's connections to the Aryan Brotherhood. And I said, I don't know that it would make a big difference, anybody even knowing that. But why not say it when you've got a kid running around with a shaved head? But another thing that crossed my mind after it has been said that they were hitting each other in the head with shovels and hammers. Is it possible that her head was bleeding and they had to shave her head to patch her head, to put a bandage on her head? We carry even clippers in the ambulance with us for such things. And I never thought about that until they said that those kids hit each other with such hard objects all the time. And I thought, well, I wonder if she got hit hard enough that she needed a bandage. We've not heard much out of Summer at all. I mean, we've might have heard 2 or 3 sentences, short sentences. But if they've been hitting each other with hammers and shovels, no wonder she's delayed in speech. Exactly. Let's just go ahead and drain the whole swamp. And I wondered if maybe Don didn't meet Dudley Ajan, when they were in prison in Texas. Where exactly did he run across this character at? Is this somebody that he's known for a long time? Because Dudley is technically from Louisiana. Mm. I got a headache, but that was something else about that Marlena Crawford. She was from Indiana, Ohio, and Texas, I believe. No. Where else was it? It was somewhere else that all these Fruit Loops had been. All these Fruit Loops has got a connection to each other. I can't remember right off now, but I'll remember here in a minute. From what I understand, Don told her to pack her crap and get off his property. Has it crossed anybody else's mind? And I may be way off base here, and this is just a question that I'm asking. This is not a fact that I'm stating. It's a question because we're having a discussion here. This is not where I'm putting out facts. This is a question. Because I have a discussion group. We don't just put out facts, we discuss things. It said that when Candace was sleeping with Jose, that Grandma is the one that called Dawn to come home, right? And she was really pissed off that Candace was cheating. And that Grandis is the one that tells on Candace for a lot of things. Has it crossed anybody else's mind with all this polygamy shit that's going around that Dawn might be married to Grandis and Candace? Has that crossed anybody's mind? That this crap might even go a little sicker and a little deeper than. Don supposedly knew Grandis before he knew Candace. And I'm just asking, and I'm asking for opinions here. Well, the way they act sometimes, they act more like sister wives than they do daughter and mother. They fit that profile of sister wives, right? And they share men. I don't know. There's just a lot of things that has made me question that. Absolutely, Cassie. I think so too. Thor's rolling through with the thunder. Right, right. And Jody Sue's grandpa's last name was Brown. Cody Brown, or Coat Brown, which is how she's related to Rebecca Cody. Something is going on with this bunch of people that just goes really deep and really sick, and I just don't know what it is. Exactly. Besides what we already know and what we already see. Oh, modern crime, it's you already missed what I've told. And just as soon as they realized that she has turned her back on them and she would not even get sober for them or go to rehab for them, and when they find out that they were not even worth her getting sober for, they are fixing to start talking about everything they would not talk about before. They might have been already talking a little bit, but they are fixing to open the ninth realm of hell on her. Fact. Fact. Exactly. And it seems like they compete quite often. It's in their metabolism. It's in their metabolism. Right. That man looked creepy and scary. was something else. I thought, surely she's got sense enough not to go help him during this time when everybody has eyes on her and everybody's watching her. All these YouTubers are just waiting to flock on her. Surely she's not going to go help him. But yet she did. And I just could not believe it. I was like, these people will do anything. And they don't care. And they don't care who sees. Y'all hear the thunder? Can y'all hear that on my phone? It's a nice little storm going out there. I love it when it does this, when it's not bad, when it's just a nice summer thunderstorm. Well, it's actually spring. Spring's a-coming. It's peaceful. Or to me it is. I've got 10 on my porches, so if I was in the other rooms, I could hear the rain on my 10 roofs, and I love that. It seems like this whole thing revolves around drugs and money and scams. This whole thing and everybody involved. It goes back to what I was talking about a while ago. The subs have rebuilt that house that's going to end up auctioned off to Tim Mullins for pennies on the dollar. Jody Sue has built her, she's got her a prefabricated cabin out there that's going to be built this spring. But yet they sit back and talk about the pounds of meth that's being brought in there right up underneath the cops' nose. And they laugh about it. And they make so much money that they laugh at a $75,000 reward for Summer's return, or for any information just leading to Summer. This channel is Valkyrie's Corner. I was a mythology channel previously. I would tell like um, well, mythology, mountain stories, and stuff like that. That's what I was telling you the other day, Luca, when you had put up the spelling for the name Sinners, S-Y-N, the goddess Sin. She was a good goddess. She guarded the halls for Odin, and she was the goddess of kind of like justice and truth. And if you was not a pure, truthful person, you could not pass through the hall, through the door to get into Odin's hall. Um, I can tell you a little bit about. I can't tell you all about everything. I can tell you a little bit about most things. When I was in medical school, I couldn't afford to go to medical school. And I would pick up these scholarships that nobody else wanted. And most of the time it was in art, literature, or religion that was the ones that nobody else wanted. So I would pick up these scholarships that nobody else wanted that would pay X amount for you for your semester if you would take those classes. So I did. So I took a lot of religion, mythology, arts, literature, and blah, blah, blah. All that thunder going on, that's Thor and Loki fighting over Loki cutting Sif's hair. He cut the locks of Sif's hair, her golden locks, and Thor made Loki go to the trolls, and the trolls had to spin her hair, her locks, out of gold and replace her golden locks with locks of gold. And then later, we get Rumpelstiltskin tales from that original tale. Every once in a while, I'll throw y'all a treat up there. I think right now I've got the Siberian Wind God. And a lot of times there is like just a black screen bedtime story type thing. It is a lot. And sometimes I think the whole thing is a hoax. But then I wonder, well, CPS has been out there so many times. And I know that the people at CPS has got to have a birth certificate on this child. And the people at CPS has got to have a social security card on this child. There has to be a child by this name. But which one of these childs is she? I've got a pretty good idea of what's going on. But like I said, it's all scams, it's all money, and it involves them people in the Churchill Rescue Squad. It and that reward fund is about to be up in 2 months in June, and it goes to a child advocacy place that has never even mentioned Summer's name, that has never hung a flyer for Summer, that has never come forward for Summer. Who are these people that is about to get $75,000 for Summer in Summer's name? And then is Summer going to pop up and come forward after this reward fund has been collected by a child advocacy center that we've never heard from, that's not even connected to a state agency? Right. You're talking about like the ones that collected $10,000 in an hour's time, right? No. Oh, really? Really? Now that one I believe. That one I believe. Yep. The top two and Emma I've not heard of. Have you already posted it? Alright, as soon as I finish this live, I will go. I'll go look at it. Doppelgangers. Doppelgangers are. So it's not actually. It is them. It is. Okay. I'll go look at it. I thought doppelgangers was just people that sort of looked like you, like somewhere else. Like I might have a twin, like in a different state, or I might have somebody that looked like me in a different country. I thought that's what a doppelganger was. You don't think they're just messing with computer programs? Makeup artist, gotcha. What's vlog? Who runs the channel? Is that some of the Lamplight Theaters crap? Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. And they're just putting that out there to mess with folks. I don't give Lamplight Theater the time of day. All right, I'll be over. Can you throw up a live and show it? I looked at some that you posted yesterday, and they're not blowed up enough that you can tell anything about them. When you post them, you're going to have to put, like, adjust the ratio to work, because we can't see facial features or anything. Okay. All right. I'm going to end my live, and I'm going to jump over there and see what Luca's got going on, and see if we can recognize some of these, what she says are YouTubers, over on the Lamplight Theater, guys. I love you guys, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Or after a while. Love y'all. Bye.